Almost. And we're live! Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 47 of Crafty Boys. After
47B.
a 40, was it 42nd? I said 47. 7.
47B.
47B. Yeah, it's true. Yesterday, we tried actually doing an episode. However, the internet in Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, and parts of Ontario went offline or went really slow, depending on where you were. So we tried broadcasting yesterday. Didn't work so well. So now we're doing it on a Thursday, just because. Alan is not going to be here tonight because he has class today, meaning educational class. He's not a classy guy. What are you talking about? But of course we have myself, Shane, here in Vancouver, and we of course have. He says, gesturing towards the screen that nobody can see. Who are you, Dave?
Well, I would be a Dave, and
Cool.
I am tonight the sole rep for the island.
It's very
And
true.
I guess you could say I'm kind of at the linchpin of the island, the tipping point, if you will.
If Vancouver Island were to be balanced on the head of a pin, you would be where that pin connects to the
That
island.
would roughly be, if it was balanced on the side of the island that I'm on.
Yes,
And
of course.
yeah,
Correct.
we're sort of midpoint. Comox Valley, to be a little more precise.
All right. Well, it's very pretty up there. I've been there many, many times.
It's
And of course, there's another guy in Vancouver, but I forgot his name. Who are you, man?
It's Lockie here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show, and get ready to drink some. I have an announcement though. There is a time warp going on at my end. You remember I missed the Naughty and Spice because I was in Ontario?
Oh,
Well,
Nice.
I couldn't find a Lusty Stout, so I figured I needed a stout that would be suitable to go along with Lusty, and Naughty sounded plausible.
It
I like
totally
your
sounds
sir.
plausible.
I like your thinking, sir.
Yeah, well, the strange thing about tonight's beer, which is, at least for my experience so far, is we're having the Moody Ales Lusty Chocolate Oatmeal Stout, and I had a bit of a challenge finding this one because some of the Moody Ales, and I'm not quoting me, I'm quoting the people that I talked to at a couple of the beer stores that I do trust, and they quite honestly told me that the Moody Ales some of the other beers kind of suck. So I had to press on to find more of this stuff to find this beer because being in Vancouver, you'd think this beer would be everywhere.
Yeah.
BC Liquor Board doesn't stock any of their stuff, at least according to their website. If they have it at a local level at a particular store, maybe, which I don't think they tend to do that all that often, if at all. I could not find it at Legacy. I could not find it. I even went into the salt mine of the craft beer place, which has. It's in the Olympic Village here in town, and it has 144 taps with beer. And the person I talked to anyway had never heard of Moody Ales. So Moody Ales, if you ever
Holy.
watch this, it's really hard to get your beer. I'm assuming that's not on purpose. I'm just assuming that maybe this time of year we haven't quite found it, or it's not stocked enough, or maybe the holidays, you have to send out a lot of stuff for the holidays and you're just trying to catch up now. Um, but I basically had to go hell and high water just to find this one. However, Dave, you found it on the island really easily. Is this right?
Dead simple. Dead simple. I
So
went
what is
into
with that?
Cascadia.
I don't get it.
No,
I was so incredibly disappointed because I thought, oh, Moody Ales, I've never heard of these guys. They're out in Port Moody. Oh, cool. I want to learn more. And it was just like it was like trying to find a needle in a haystack in
yeah,
one of the largest cities in Canada. So I don't know. It was a bit odd. So,
that is very odd.
but I'm happy to have found it. Locke, I think you found it as well, and you drank it already. Is that right?
No. I have not found it. I asked for it. The place that I went, so the first place I went didn't have anything, and I had never had any other product in. The next place I went, sort of down near Robson, They had something like 12 different products that they have had in at some point in the past, and currently did not have even one of those presently in.
Yeah, I mean that's unfortunate because the a lot of I mean the reason that I say that the people at the beer store said it sucked, they were actually picking on one called Idle Hands, which I gather is part of the Moody Ales line. I can't prove that because their website doesn't really have a list of their beers on it. But it was interesting that I guess, the beer store that I go to the most, they just said flat out, we had tasters of all these beers and they all sucked. However, they did have the chocolate stout, oatmeal stout, because of the holidays. So whether they're stocking it regularly, I'm not sure. I mean, this entire experience of doing this podcast for the last almost year now is fascinating because it actually is I'm getting an education every week in how beer is distributed in this province. And of course we've talked about stories before, last week, the week before, about the Alberta, basically, if you don't make beer in our province, tax sort of thing, where some of the beer breweries in the country are being like, well, if you're going to tax us that much, then suck it, and we're not sending our product there. So I don't know, it's just very strange. But anyway, let's get to opening the beer. Of course, we've already talked about the one that Locke has, the Naughty, and I think we all gave that a thumbs up. So
Yeah,
thank you for the.
I'm going to belatedly add my thumb to that up.
So yeah, I give it a thumbs up because I remember that most of the holiday stuff, most of the seasonal things that we talked about and enjoyed were quite good. And of course, the Bally Cock returns. Haven't had it for a few weeks. I've actually been using my steam whistle.
And the Japanese mask.
And I had the Japanese mask, and I had my my steam whistle out yesterday, which of course are that sounds really bad, and I said it aloud. But I had the steam whistle opener yesterday. I don't know where I put it. I had it. Of course, the internet was sucking, and so we tried, failed miserably, and decided to do it today. But I don't know what I did with it, so hence the Ballycock. And by the way, one of the things that I was thinking about a couple weeks ago is if you guys have bottle openers out there that you want us to feature on this show, by all means, I will put an address for you to send stuff to on our website, and you guys can send us your bottle openers, and we will then, of course, I keep wiggling my Bally penis, and we'll show something other than the Bally penis. And although I have to admit, I think the best one that we have had so far is the one that you have, Dave, the mask.
I don't know. I mean, this is pretty cool, but that Bally penis, I mean, seriously.
And I didn't buy the Bally penis. I'm going to be very clear about that. I actually, it was a gift from somebody who's actually been there. So I have not been to Bally. So anyway, I'm going to do my pour. Sorry, I'm blabbering on here. I'm going to get to my pour in here.
I'm doing my pour.
This chocolate oatmeal stout is very dark, which I am very happy about. Because
cannot see through this one. Whoa.
That is, I'm putting it up to the light, and yeah, you can't see through it even with the light right behind it. So I'm going to give it a smell. Have the smell test. Locke, tell us what you're. Oh, you're not even pouring. You're just drinking out of the bottle. Right away, I am. I can smell the chocolate. So. And I did speak to Alan today about his experience with this. He was a bit disappointed. He didn't think it was chocolatey enough, considering the word "lusty" is in the title. But he did drink the whole thing yesterday because he was sad about the internet. Okay, that I gotta say, yummy. Of course, in my Guinness glass, which I still hold as probably one of the best beers on the planet, but that's just me.
Well, I found it interesting that Alan was saying there was that other beer that he thought might be even better. Unfortunately, I can't remember what it was he was talking about. Do you remember?
I would love to say yes, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Whatever.
I mean, granted, I'm pretty spoiled when it comes to the was that? Sorry, that totally scared me. There was so much bass to it. Did a car drive by, Locke?
Yeah, yeah, no.
Okay, the
Car-
bass in that car was amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
that had some pipes on it.
so I thought it was in the room. I kind of went like this, thinking, "What was that noise?" And then I realized it was coming from the room. Anyway, sorry. So I gotta say that I can't taste the chocolate all that much. I do agree with Alan, but I definitely am getting a hint of the oatmeal. The oatmeal might be overpowering the chocolate. I mean, it's there. It's just very, 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 very quiet.
Mm.
Dave, would you like to tell people what the international beer unit rating is in this beer?
This particular bad boy is sitting at a whopping 38 beer units.
38 beer units, and I will, of course, as usual, tell everybody if you ever watch this that we do know that international beer units is not the official thing, but that's okay. We love to talk about
There,
that.
there,
No, go ahead.
huh? I've got nothing to add.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying something. So anyway, basically, now here's something I've actually been paying attention to, and the one thing I have to say about this bottle is that it's a regular everyday bomber bottle. We all like them. But these guys have gone so far as to basically list out the exact ingredients of the beer. They do actually say that there's lactose in it and all that kind of fun stuff. So if you're lactose intolerant, this is not a beer for you. However, they actually are listing the grains they were using, the hops they used, as well as sort of anything else that they may have brewed into the beer. So now here's something I'm learning. This is part of my education, is that I've been doing this of late. Is actually looking up what the hops are, because I like hoppy beers, but this one has East Kent Golding's Fuggles. Now, I'm gonna have to look that up because I don't actually know what that is. I'm kind of happy about that because it's something brand new. I haven't seen this particular hop before. But again, a lot of the hop information that I've had to look up for all the beers we've talked about is you have to dig for it. You have to really, really dig for it, if at all, if you ever find the information. I remember I actually did call, which one is it? It's an island. It was Vancouver Island Brewery, to ask them what the hops were. And the person I talked to didn't actually know. So, well, that's okay. Because I wanted to know about I wanted to ask them if they'd changed the recipe of the Piper's Pale Ale, which we had about 6 months ago or so.
I wonder if they treat that as a bit of a trade secret.
It's possible. Locke, have you actually ever heard that, or?
Well, I think I remember the instance you were talking about, and I think she just had only just started working there, is what the case was there. But
Right.
but that was a beer fest, right?
Yeah.
No, but so I don't know. Like I think there's some brewmasters that are sort of a little cagey about exactly how they're doing what they're doing, and I think that's normal. I don't think. But at the same time, I don't think just because you know that they used Galaxy hops or something like that that you'll have it all down pat just like that either. So
Yeah.
No, fair enough. It's much more than that, isn't it?
Which is actually a good segue into the articles that we have for this week, which are 2 articles picked by our Dave Kelch. Dave, do you want to introduce them? I think we should talk about the Dalhousie one first, because I think that one is absolutely fascinating.
Okay, yeah, it is.
Go ahead.
It really is. Okay, so hang on a second here. Let me just refresh my forgettery. So, as Shane is saying, this story comes to us from Dalhousie University in Nova Scotia, I believe it is. And what this is this professor over there, Andrew McIntosh, and the guy looks like he's probably, I'm going to say, late 30s, early 40s. He has been working in the fish lab at Dalhousie because, of course, fisheries on either coast is a fairly big deal, and so Dalhousie has a institute out there that used to work fisheries, and now the fisheries is starting to take a pretty big hit, and he has decided to take the lab in a fresh direction, which is beers. So they are actually working with breweries out there, and apparently this whole craft thing is new out there, which I found kind of interesting. But
Bizarre.
yeah, this fella actually makes the comment, this Andrew McIntosh. He says things tend to be a little behind the rest of the country, if you will, in terms of kind of, the hipness and what's fresh and happening. So he says one of the things that they're doing is they're working with the now burgeoning or exploding, whichever term you prefer, craft brew industry out there, which is pretty cool. So I guess what he's doing is he's helping various fellas who are maybe, coming across some stumbling blocks as they're trying to sort out their breweries and sort out the best brews and mixes and all this kind of good stuff. And they turn to this fella because he is super smart, of course, and he is totally down with not just sort of the art of how do you mix all of your hops and all the other good stuff that goes into it, but he actually delves into the hard science, apparently, behind what happens when you put these brews together. So, like into I'm not even sure what, but it's kind of the molecular level, I guess, if you will, of what goes on in beers. It's pretty wild. And so I just thought that was kind of interesting, given that we do beer on this cast. So I'm like, hey, it says also, as another addition here, he is an expert in fermentation, but he's also studying to become a cicerone, apparently, which is the brewing equivalent of a sommelier, which I had never heard before. You've obviously heard that term, Locke.
So I met one of the top cicerones in Ontario, who was out for Beer Fest, which was, I think, a couple of years ago. And yeah, there's a training program that's out there. I don't have the details with me. I got it in my Rolodex somewhere. But yeah, no, that's what they call them. And yeah, the training is, I think, something like a year, 2 years. And then from there you develop your reputation by, I think ultimately being in high-end restaurants, sort of recommending pairings and that sort of thing. It's
right.
Like a sommelier.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I just had never heard that term before. So I thought that was interesting.
And we've lost someone else that's no longer going to be with our podcast. It's actually quite fascinating because we drink beer. We like beer. Beer is great, but it's kind of interesting just how a lot of people don't quite understand how beer is made, like me. I know enough to know to kind of get started, but as for being able to actually create my own brewery, that would be just completely insane. I'd end up burning down my house. But I don't know. It's kind of cool that because the fisheries has been kicked in the groin so many times over the last 25 years. That this guy is able to kind of go, what else could we do? It's kind of like, we have this laser gun. There are no more aliens. What else could we do with it?
Yeah.
Anybody want some pierced ears? That kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So it could be repurposed, and so I kind of like that, and it's kind of neat. Which is kind of as Dave has collected these, he's also got another article out of the UK about how there is a London brewery, and I love this, is actually taking bread that people want to throw out and turning it into beer.
Mm-hmm.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
You have the grains in there, probably a few other sort of ingredients that may or may not want. Um, why the hell not? I mean, it sounds like a great idea.
I'm sure as long as it's not. I mean, if you're talking about bread molds, that's probably just part of the fermentation process.
Yeah, no,
Right.
totally. And part of this is too is because I was thinking it would be kind of interesting to be like, some dude's job is to like separate, bread that has butter on it. Okay, any peanut butter? Okay, what kind of jam is that? Okay, all right. And like just and like the beers that come out and are brewed are actually just called peanut butter and jam. And there's really no they don't, and it changes from week to week. It's like, okay, well, we've got these brews on right now. What are we putting into a fermenter today? Okay, what is that? Oh, wow, garlic bread. Wow, that's amazing. We've got so much garlic bread this week. What is it, like an Italian thing going on? And then garlic beer. Who knows? I don't know. I just think it's kind of interesting that how we've seen a lot of recycling and a lot of repurposing of other things, but I'd never ever thought about it in the beer market. So whoever started this is amazing, and I want to be their friend.
Absolutely. I was more about it for the whole, let's take this ridiculous amount of waste and turning it into something good,
Mm-hmm.
And here's just a little tidbit I'll throw out before we continue our discussion here. It's called Toast Ale, which is very, very clever, I think. Clever.
It's really clever.
Neville.
Clavar.
No, Neville came up with that. Anyways, Toast Ale. I think yes, I'm down with that, and I would try it if I happen to live in the UK, which I would be down with doing, quite frankly.
Well, if you're making pounds, absolutely, because the dollar.
Yeah, well, I would assume if I was
so
there
true.
working, I would be making pounds. Yes. And yeah.
Well, okay. Well,
tidbit
Dave,
there,
here's
sure.
a test.
A
What
test,
is
okay.
the furthest point east in Canada?
Furthest point east in Canada. Jesus Christ, man.
All right, that's it. Ship him off. He's not a Canadian. You're going to the UK, buddy. You get
No,
a free ticket.
hang on.
You get deported right away. There you go.
Take it. I'm gone. Ship it over. I'll take it.
Make it happen.
Okay, hang on. I want to actually try this. Oh, fuck. Okay. It's gotta be Newfoundland is furthest east. Right?
Mm-hmm. Keep going.
What, you're actually expecting a town?
No, it's actually not a town.
It's not a town.
That I'm filling out the deportation papers right now. The problem is you're gonna have to live in Galway, which is actually not in kind of.
Yeah. I
Galway is in Ireland, for Christ's sake.
having trouble retrieving the answer here.
Come on, Dave.
Having trouble retrieving the answer. Okay, where are you going with that? Retrieving, grabbing, get back. I don't know. I'm lost. Give it to me. Throw it
Oh,
out
you actually
there.
want it now. All right. In Canada, there's this place called Newfoundland. Now, the reason I'm pronouncing it that way is that the CBC ran a news story last night about the actress who does the Mindy Project
Yes.
was correcting people yesterday on Twitter, which is the most ridiculous mileage they've ever had out of it to get a story going. But essentially, the actor who I've seen in a bazillion things, he's really awesome.
Mindy Galing.
Not Mindy. So anyway, I'm gonna back up. Mindy tweeted yesterday or the day before about the proper pronunciation of Newfoundland, not Newfoundland, Newfoundland, and so she tweeted it because a friend of hers, the actor who played the father on the show Raising Hope, if you've ever watched it, who had been filming in Newfoundland recently and had just returned back to Los Angeles to say, thank you, Newfoundland, for your hospitality, blah, blah, blah. And then she corrected everyone's pronunciation of it, which then turned into this big story. Anyway, in Canada, there is a place called Newfoundland. And on the island of Newfoundland, there's a place called Cape Spear. And Cape Spear is the furthest point east in our fair country.
Cool. I had zero idea.
So Cape Spear is actually just south, I think, of St. John's. Not far from St. John's. But it is the furthest point east in our fair country. So yeah. So Dave, congratulations. You are being deported to the UK. I'm coming with you. Because I didn't care until Locke mentioned the dollar at the moment and said that if you were earning pounds, it would be a lot better. What is the minimum wage in the UK anyway? Minimum wage.
Okay,
UK.
so while you're doing that, I just want to rewind a little bit here and just question.
$6.50 an hour. £6.50.
Okay, so what? You multiply that by what? 2 at this point?
Well, I can tell you. Keep talking. What you're gonna say. I'll do the calculation.
Okay, right. So rewinding. Where does Mindy get off correcting people? Is what I would like to know.
I don't know. You can tweet her and ask.
Not a newfie.
She is not a newfie that I'm aware
She's
of.
probably never been there.
I suppose not. However, if you want to know how much to make,
Self-respecting newfie would not call it Newfoundland either. And I know some newfies.
so right now our dollar is worth 50 cents per British pound. So
Yeah.
pretty much
So
we would be
it is
earning
about
let's assume that the minimum wage is $6.50 for the next foreseeable future.
So what's that? That's 12.
So it would be double what the minimum wage is here
13.
almost.
14, 15.
Hmm.
About 15? Is that right?
About that, yeah. It's about $15 an hour, give or take. Of course,
Holy.
it's gonna waver depending on the exchange rate. But of course that's just minimum wage jobs. If you actually had a real job, you'd be making a hell of a lot more. So
Wow.
so yeah, so enjoy. Whereabouts in the UK would you like to live?
Where would I like to live? Oh, that's a tough one. You know what? Honestly, I don't know UK well enough, but I don't think I could live in London because it would just chew me up and spit me out again.
Okay.
What always grabs me are the pictures of the smaller towns and villages that you can find probably throughout the country, of all these tree-lined roads. I just love it, absolutely love it. It's just amazing, amazing looking country. Beautiful in a way that ours is not. And is it because it's so old? I guess probably, because they've had centuries, literally, of having these roads built and having these trees planted and, all this kind of stuff. So, anyways, whatever.
Well, if you take the entirety of the UK, so if you take actually even if you take Ireland as well, and were to superimpose it onto still about a third of our province of England. That's how big it is. Actually, sorry, that's how small it is compared to where we live. So, which is kind of scary because we drive from to Prince George, and we, it's like nothing to us. It's like, oh, it'll take us, X number of hours. But you're actually driving from Dover to Edinburgh. That's sort of the same distance roughly, and I don't know how long that would take in the UK. I don't understand their road system there, of course. But if it's like ours and
Many who
relatively
live there.
clear, sorry.
I'd be surprised if there's many who live there who understand.
Well, exactly. I mean, I know, and if we take geography out of the equation and say it's sort of a roughly level plane, then I don't know. It might be roughly, it might be the same, sort of thing. But of course, we have mountains in the way and shit that a lot of countries don't have. So, but anyway, so I guess we're all living in the UK from now on. I think I would choose maybe East London, maybe West London, that kind of area. Of course, I have this dream about drinking beer. Have you ever seen the film Lesbian Vampire Killers? I kid you not. This
Because
movie
that's
doesn't
the title I look for.
It's a great film. It stars a bunch of really well-known actors out of the UK. One of the doctors is in it. It's a film from about 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago maybe at the most. And it's a tongue-in-cheek horror film about a queen vampire who has been cursed. Her nemesis is, children, or her nemesis who was, 300 years ago, and all the children after that will be killed, that kind of thing, to try and stop his line from existing. And of course, she's a lesbian, so every time she appears, there's always other vampire women that are all, basically just having sex with each other. And it's a hilarious film. I have this tradition where on Saturday morning, when Allison goes out, I will watch terrible films, the worst that I can find. The day after tomorrow, I'm watching Sharknado 3, which is, by the way, it can't be any worse than Sharknado 2 or Sharknado for that matter. But anyway, so I watched this film. It was on Netflix, and I just turned it on because I thought this sounds ridiculous. I watched the entire thing beginning to end. It was amazing, but it does take place in a small pub. It starts at like a hotel in the middle of nowhere, which is supposed to be like the beginning of the film. The character is very down on himself. He has a long distance relationship. He's hating his life, and he lives in London. She lives in Bristol or something. And so he's like, you know what? I'm going on a vacation, and my best friend's going with me. And we're just going to drink ourselves silly. And he chooses the location by just putting a map of England on a dartboard and throwing a dart, and it lands sort of in the middle of nowhere. So they go there, and they of course find a pub. And I have a dream. I have a romantic ideal of doing just that, going to a really old pub that's been around for eons to drink beer. Which on our side of the pond, we don't have that. Our country is too young, and even the States and Canada are so incredibly young. I mean, if you wanted to go and get more history, you'd have to go to Mexico. So, I mean, we have history here, yes, but compared to, I mean, Locke, you know way more about. I mean, I'm just having this romantic ideal dream, but you've actually been to England like at least once or twice a year for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So, you were doing research for a book, you're doing school, you've got all these sorts of things going on. So you've learned so much more than I have, so I'm going to be quiet. Educate us.
Oh, I don't know. Look, if I were living in the UK, first places I'd probably pick would be Edinburgh and Oxford.
Actually, I could go for Oxford, too. I've seen too many cop shows from Manchester, and it just looks like a hole. Which I gather a lot of northern England towns are sort of.
I like Newcastle. I live in Newcastle again.
Yeah, Newcastle. Okay, well, because my impression is that that's where a lot of the heavy industry was. Because it was in England. It was in. Sorry.
That's not wrong. Yeah, I mean it's pretty industrial out there, but I mean, look, industry shit. First of all, the age of steel and coal is past. It's not.
Well,
really,
no, I mean that's true. I mean it's very true.
And so most of those towns aren't really the same as they were, right? Now, what's taken their place? Well, I mean Newcastle, I actually think has some interesting tech sector these days, but it's not the coal mining town that it used to be.
Right.
And ultimately, the way the way things are shifting. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what England is like. You know, a decade from now, are they still going to be in the EU? I don't know. Personally, I think they should step out, even if they renegotiate something again later. I think the deal they're in right now is one that's poor for legal, amongst other reasons. Same reason the Trans-Pacific Partnership's a bad idea. Ultimately, it's down to there's legal problems more than it being a bad idea for people to have relationships. You know what I mean? But,
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, and I just suddenly got really depressed. It's just one of those. It's one of those things that you don't. Yeah, I actually hijacked an episode of this podcast. Back in I think last spring, maybe episode 20 or so. And I think I talked about the TPP completely. And I think you and Alan and were just sitting there going, yeah, we'll talk about the beer at some point. Just let Shane talk. And, it was just you guys put up with me.
Sorry, did I trigger that one again?
No, it was actually on my mind because I'd been talking about it with some people the day before, and was really, really, I'm really concerned about it. And I think that our current and / new PM is he wants to sign. I can't remember. Did he sign? I can't remember. He wants to sign it. Because I guess that's where the ratification process, of course, will start. But I think people are concerned that once you sign it, that potentially that might lead to other things. But again, if we ratify, or if it has to go through ratification, so then I guess there's
The
protection
most
for it.
concerning thing is that it talks about treating intellectual property issues as criminal rather than civil.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, no, it's like the moment you even think about,
That's not something people should be agreeing with. That's not good for anybody except the very, very top tier of
God, yeah, totally.
on the planet.
Especially since actually something very interesting happened just recently. Who sold? Somebody sold to. Sorry.
I was just gonna go there.
But you know what I'm talking about? A Chinese conglomerate just purchased a whole library of something.
Oh.
Hang on.
A U.S. company just bought a bunch of fiber, I think it is.
No. This is I'd have to find it. I only just read this just a couple days ago. Anyway, I'm probably going to get this wrong, so please look it up yourselves. But essentially, a library of music that's well-known music was sold to a Chinese company. And if you know anything about Chinese copyright, a couple of years ago, the Chinese government said the copyright lasted 60 or 90 days, and then things were thrown into the public domain. I'm assuming that won't apply to anything they buy because of just how old some of this music that was purchased, some of the licensing or the library that was purchased was quite extensive, and
I would have to suppose that they're speculating on the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Yeah, well, exactly, and this is part of the issue is that what copyright laws apply to this new thing? Are they, if they're owned by a foreign country, do their copyright laws take over, even if the music? Let's say it was like the Rolling Stones or something, and they sold their entire catalog to, a Chinese company. So I think that's kind of the concern that I'd have to look this up. I don't recall, unfortunately.
The real problem with agreements like this is, we can all speculate as to what ultimately is going on and what ultimately it's going to mean, but none of us has the opportunity to read it. None of us has the time to read it. It's a full-time job to read it.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the problem. I mean, there's a lot of highlights. There are some podcasts in Canada that I listen to off and on. One is talks about this kind of stuff quite a bit. So I recommend educating yourself as much as possible. But yeah, I mean, the document just alone is like 4 billion pages long or a ridiculous amount. So yeah, I mean it's astounding that anyone can make sense of it, and I mean this is one of the big things I've learned as an adult, if you would call me that, because I really don't feel like an adult, is that there are certain realities around systems getting too big, and we pretend that we can manage them, we pretend that we can do these things, but ultimately, um, unless you have a crack team that is so incredibly tight and so incredibly on the ball, um, that us human beings we have enough trouble running a 40 million population country, um, and the rest of and just imagine us trying to go to Mars and populating multiple planets. Yeah, we're not ready. I think we're ready to go there. I just don't think we're ready to realize what is going to happen once we do that, and that kind of stuff. So,
I think in some ways
so
it
the
might actually.
TPP is it's too big. It's too big and it's ridiculous. And I think that it'll be too easy to abuse and too easy to um, inject things into it that people might not notice. Uh, but it's in ink. See this paragraph here that it's in there, and it's like, well, it was like a lot of the I've forgotten what documentary it was, but it was about the U.S. I think it was about Fahrenheit 9/11 or something. And one of the interviews was from some congressman that basically says, you think we actually read all the stuff that comes across our desk? No, we can't. It's impossible. But we vote on it. It gets in. It doesn't get in. It's we chances are of us having read it probably not. So
That's kind of frightening.
yeah.
Yeah, well, that is very much how it works. Yeah. So, all right. On that uplifting note.
On an uplifting note, I think overall, what do you think about this beer? Actually, sorry, Locke, you're not even drinking it. So, but whatever you think about your naughty and nice.
I have plenty of time to think about the one that I missed, and yum yum, it's good.
Dave, what is your final say on the Lusty chocolate oatmeal stout?
I have to admit, I'm on the fence.
Really? You're on the fence a
Yeah.
lot with these beers, man. You're on the
No,
fence a lot.
no. Here's the thing. Going back to last week,
Okay.
I'm just going to admit, I was not a big fan of that one.
Really?
Really not.
You jerk.
No, it's good. Look, seriously, Dave he's like he's our canary in the coal mine. Like,
I totally.
I weather just about any beer, you know that. If I don't find it good, I might still find it interesting. Dave is a big beer drinker, and good on you, Dave. I mean, you help us. You help whoever is out there watching, because we all suppose somebody is.
Well, I am definitely the least cultured palate of any of us.
What really is going to work? Yeah.
I mean that's very true, because we have so many beers that we've gone through now that it's about time we make a list. Because I'm starting to forget ones we've had, because I know that.
I know I've done more than one round of at least a couple of them.
Yeah, no, this is very true. Well, especially in the situations where we find out that we can't actually find the beer we want. It's the website says it's around. The beer places are like, no. Like, I was surprised I couldn't find the Moody Ales one, and I gather, I mean, it's a combination of I would suspect. Because for to have beer in the BC liquor system, you have to actually have a certain production level or in numbers, and all that kind of stuff. So, but anyway, at the end of the day, I give this one a thumbs up. I think it needs work. It's not chocolatey enough for something that has the word chocolate in it. But I am also willing to kind of, forgive it a little bit, because it is, I guess to me, it's a newcomer to the game. So it might not be. It could have been around for 20 years for all I know. Although I have a feeling not. So, yeah. Dave,
Here's
you're still not found out. I
okay.
gave you 2 seconds to think about it, but I'm assuming.
Rewinding a little bit here. Here's the thing that I found interesting after last week
Okay.
was realizing that you guys have basically ruined me for the basic beer.
What's a basic beer?
What we had last week, the what was it? ADG or something?
AGD.
Yeah, the
AGD.
AGD from Big Rocket.
Which I would consider a basic beer. You know, nothing
Straight.
fancy, just straight up. You're grabbing it because you're going to a barbecue on Saturday. That's what you're doing.
Pretty much.
Camping beer,
And, and I gotta say, even though I'm saying I'm on the fence about this guy, the thing is, I still find it interesting. There's different flavors to it, and there's interesting stuff going on with it that I can't say was going on with the AGD.
There's different
Really?
properties of AGD that you should be paying attention to ultimately, in terms of what that beer is really about, all about. The thing is, this is a craft beer show. Is that really specifically a craft beer? Arguably not. What it is a budget beer. Budget beers have their places. They have special magical properties unlike other beers. So, sort of your mid example would be I'm trying to remember who the hell made this stuff. It was the
What's from
something.
last week?
Is this something where no, this is from ages ago. Oh Lord, I can't remember when I last saw this, but something or other blonde or whatever, and effectively what these things
I know
did.
the one you're talking about. Yeah.
So far as I can tell, what these beers did is exactly what Marilyn Monroe, which is what the woman on the can looked like, exactly what she would want a beer to do, which is to say that it exploded with a ferocity that you would not believe, would get everybody's attention, and would cover you in rather fetching suds.
I know the one you're talking about. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's a midpoint along the range I'm talking about here. What AGD is, what that beer is all about, is that you can maximize the number of cans that you're bringing to the party, which is now a much better party because everybody can get at least 2 or 3 of those in.
Yeah, I would agree because there's definitely some. I mean, this is the thing about some of the craft brews that we've had, is that they are kind of small. There's not a lot of them, and you can only get them in certain bottles and things like that. Like there's pretty limited accessibility is the word I'm really going for the end consumer to actually have.
True.
access
Well,
to
we've
these
fought with the whole accessibility thing time and again.
Yeah, and that is actually the biggest surprise because I guess for my entire existence I've really kind of thought about, the beer is available. It's if I want it, it might be regional, so I won't be able to get certain ones. But then there's going to be ones that I'll be like, you know what, I totally want that one, and it's made, in the same city I'm in, which is weird that you can't get the Moody Ales all that often. Now, granted, that could just be our experience. Maybe we're wrong. I certainly hope we're wrong, because I think it would be sad for us to, unfortunately, have a locally made beer that is not readily available, which is a bit strange. So, but again, I'm not going to pretend that I understand all the rules of the beer trade and the alcohol trade. So maybe there's a component that I don't quite understand, which is highly possible. So, but overall, I give it a thumbs up, and I think that it definitely needs some work. It's not the perfect beer, but I'm not hating it, like some of the ones we've had. So I give it a thumbs up for a good effort. Dave, when people are looking for you, and you're not here, where can they find you?
They can't because I hide. If I'm not here, I'm hidden.
You're hiding in a small bunker.
under my rock. If they're so inclined, they could find my Twitter account, which is the Fool on Twitter, whatever, and that's spelled the Phule.
It's on Twitter or whatever.
Probably
You know.
fast style.
It's nearby, maybe, not quite sure. But you know, the internet's there, and you know, if you have it, you know, it's pretty good.
Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't.
Wow. And Locke, when people are looking for you, if they actually want to find you, and they're not looking for you on the Crafty Boys, where, of course, can they find you?
I think again I'm going to go with Twitter.
Okay. Rock on. Twitter's a valid place to send people to look for you.
Yeah.
So thank you again, everybody, for watching. I'm right now looking up TPP information, and I really should just go to bed and cry. But thank you, everyone, for watching, and we will see you guys. Episode 48 is around the corner, and you don't know what beer we've chosen because we don't know yet either. Bye, everybody. Thank you again, and check us out.